Hey folks, good morning. Happy Wednesday. How you doing? Yeah, this is pretty cool. So I haven't seen him streaming in a while, but the Shaping the Silence guy would do like his music design on stream, and it was pretty fun. But yeah, hopefully you got your coffee. Lots of coffee. So I've yet to get my friends, the OG chess streamers, the Chess Bros, to sponsor the stream either. But one of these days, maybe they'll sponsor us. So pump up some money for that scholarship fund. All right. So we are back today talking about Chapter 1, the Intro to Java. So let me pull this up here. There's slides if you like slides. The book is also pretty good here. Look at that. Oh, no, that hand has to move right and left. You can grab your book, that sort of thing. Hey, Professor Perp, thanks for coming on by. Happy Wednesday. There it goes. Here's my page. Nope. Oh, that was the wrong button. Nope. What did I do? Improve music? I just wanted a music player, and that's what was installed. I don't know if it's, I don't know. It works for the MP3s. Oh, yeah, that's right. You can do an animated emote. That's cool. I should animate the drinking coffee one, so you can, chug, right? That might be fun. Nice. All right, let's throw out my coffee emote here. Just put a little spin on that one. All right, so Intro to Java today from Chapter 1. It's pretty short and sweet. We jump in a little slow here. Once we get to Chapter 2, then we actually start kind of running, and then we'll be pretty good on this. So again, no class MLK Day, so we're off next Monday. And then we pick it back up on next Wednesday. And then we're spending about 2 sessions every chapter up till midterm week. So we're going to do just 1 session on Chapter 7. We're not going to go super deep on Chapter 8, so I think we'll be okay. Maybe we'll finish up Chapter 7 after break as we go. Yeah, anything else we need to talk about there? So it should go pretty smoothly. And then we're going to have our first lab assignment today. So a couple people already took care of the syllabus quiz. Thank you very much for that. Make sure you get that in. I guess there's MLK Day Monday, so maybe that should be due on the 19th. If we don't have class, there probably shouldn't be something due that day. I'll fix that. Let me edit that. We'll make that due on the Wednesday, just because you're probably not expecting to have anything due on a day we don't have class. I'll change that real quick. Yeah, 19th. Okay. Save that. And then speaking of no class on Monday, I probably should update this calendar thing. We don't have class the 17th. Right. And nothing on 17th. Okay. Alright, so let me delete this one. Only this event. Selected occurrence. Try and make sure that stays current for you. All right. All right, we're good to jump in then? So let me fire up Netbeans here. Hopefully you've had a chance to install some of those tools. All right, you need your GitHub account. You need Netbeans. You need the OpenJDK. Not Netflix. I want Netbeans. Come on, search. Let's go. There we go. I love that coffee emote. The best. I don't remember how much I spent on that. It's like $20 or something. I actually get like an actual artist to do that. Nope, we're just getting going here, David. No problem at all. Yeah, I thought we showed that on Monday, how to download Netbeans, but sure, it's right here in the syllabus. There's a link for it. Yeah, it's the only emote I have. Don't have a lot. I don't even know if I get more emote slots. I feel like I had to... Maybe I have more available? I don't know. So for downloading Netbeans, you come out here to the syllabus link, and you click on Netbeans, or you can just Google Netbeans, and the Open JDK. You know both of those. So the latest and greatest is 12.6. Should be great. If you already had it installed previously, it's probably okay. I've had some issues every now and then with some previous versions, but sometimes it's just flaky. I just download that. Now, generally, I like the installer. You can also do the binaries and just unzip it yourself, but then you don't get a shortcut. So I think the installer is nice just for people who like shortcuts. And then for the JDK, we're using version 17 is the ready-to-use current one right now. And on Windows, just grab the zip file. On Mac or Linux, just grab the little tarball, and you can go unpack that. So I liked copying off of how we have everything installed on the virtual desktop to keep everything the same. So on my computer, I made a folder, and you don't have to. You can really put it anywhere you want. But I have a folder called OpenDev on the C drive. C:/OpenDev. The file explorer got slower in Windows 11, and I'm really sad. Really sad about that. File Explorer used to be like decently fast. So a folder called OpenDev, so that's where you'll extract the JDK. If you want, you can install Netbeans there, otherwise it installs in program files. It's fine either place. Does not matter at all. It's all going to be in one place and consistent for me, and it makes me happy. That's all. So we got that. We got those two. If you run into an issue where you try and install Netbeans and it says it can't find the JDK, go take a look at that video, or I can help walk you through it on a screen share, where you have to install from PowerShell or the command line. You have to tell it where the JDK is. That's the one downside of using this OpenJDK. That's just a zip file. Oh my goodness! I've not had enough coffee yet. Okay, so those ones should get you up and running. And then also another super important thing here in Netbeans that I did not go over yet is how to make it be dark mode. So rather than blind yourself, you go to Tools and Options. And over in the Appearance tab in your Options menu, there's a look and feel you can change to. I actually have a couple different ones you can pick. So currently I'm using Dark Metal. I don't remember why I like this one better than Nimbus, but whatever. So you have to restart it, but that's fine. That way it'll be a little nicer for you there as well. All right. So back in Netbeans here, we're going to take a look at some Java programs. So I think we did the Hello World, didn't we? In recent. Did I not? I made a repository, right? No, we'll start another one here. That's okay. I'm going to start a new project. So the easiest projects for us to use are Java with Ant. It's nice and straightforward. Maven and Gradle should work for you. Every now and then they're a little bit funky. But Java with Ant is nice and straightforward. That's what we typically use here. You go next. If it's the very first time you've installed Netbeans, it'll ask you to enable some plugins. Those are fantastic. The NB Java something plugins. Just say yes and then it'll install. Download and install. Real nice here. So we need our Monday, Wednesday repo here. I have that folder, right? I feel like we do. And we'll call this Hello World. So for some reason, someone came up with this idea that when you start programming in any sort of language, the very first thing you should do is make the computer print out to the screen Hello World. Pretend like you're making the computer talk. It's kind of a tradition. So that's what we're going to do. So project name Hello World goes inside of my repository folder. For you, you're going to put it inside your lab or your project folders. I'll show you that when we talk about lab 1 in a little bit. So this location is important here. It likes to put itself into this Documents Netbeans Projects folder. We don't want it there. We want to put it specifically inside of our GitHub directories or GitHub repositories. You don't want to use this checkbox here, and you do want it to create a main class, this one here. It starts off doing a lot of work for you, which is really nice. We'll just say finish. So with Java, it's quite particular about its syntax. And the syntax are just the rules for how you have to write Java code for the Java compiler to understand it. It's going to look weird. So this is a Hello World project. If you're ever not sure about where your projects are and stuff, if you just hover over the name of the project, it's going to give you the path. So this is the one from the Tuesday class. I don't want that one. They're actually in this Hello World project here in the Monday, Wednesday class. It's a little small there, sorry, but it'll show you the path. Doesn't zoom in well. And then this is the Project Explorer view. So inside of that you have source packages. So all of your Java code goes into your source packages. We have a package called Hello World, and then a helloworld.java file. So notice the package is all lowercase. So one of the things Netbeans does, and it's a good practice, is to always have a package. So a package is really nothing more than a folder. It's just a folder that we put code inside of. So if we were to go and look at that code here, there's a little YouTube video, SB Java. You have to run the installer from the PowerShell or command prompt, and you have to tell it where Java is installed. So you have to pass it -- Java home and the path to that. So like for my installer, because I put everything in OpenDev, I can show you real quick. So I've got the Windows terminal on Windows 11 is phenomenal, but you can do it in PowerShell or even the command prompt is fine. I'm going to go to my download folder. So you have to use this cd command to change directory, which is a little bit funny, but it's not too bad here. So cd, this tilde sign here is your user's home directory, or you can just do c:/users/Eric, and then I have my download folder here. Now, when you're in the command prompt or shell here, you don't ever want to type everything yourself. You want to be a good programmer and be lazy. And I mean that in the nicest sense. You want to be efficiently lazy. So don't type everything out if you don't need to. So if you just type a couple letters here, so I'm going to do like ~do will be the first couple letters of downloads, and I hit tab, it's going to autocomplete. The first one is documents. I don't want documents. I'm going to tab again, and I'll get the next one is downloads. So tab will just cycle through all the available matches here for DO. So I want downloads. Now that I'm in the downloads folder, I should have that Apache Netbeans installer. So if I type like APA for Apache and I hit tab, it's going to see, oh look, I still have the 12.3 installer. I don't want 12.3. I'm going to tab again, 12.4. Don't want 12.4. Here's 12.6. That's the Apache Netbeans installer. So just running right here would kick off the installer, but because it's silly and doesn't know where Java is installed, you say -- Java home space, and now we have to tell it where do we unzip that Java directory, or that JDK directory. So mine was c:, and then \OpenDev, so like OP for open. You get OpenDev, and then there's like J for Java. I don't want the Java FX, I want the Java, or the JDK, this folder, and I run that command. So I've got that in the YouTube video. We can definitely hop on a screen share and take a look at it if it's causing you any trouble here. It's a one-time step once it's installed. So sorry, it's a small pain. The price we pay for using the OpenJDK and not Oracle's commercial version. And we used Java with Ant. So when you make a new project, you do File, New Project. You want Java with Ant, Java application. Yep, no worries. Questions are great. It's actually, I really enjoy when you folks are chatting, because if no one chats anything ever, I'm just talking to myself here, and it's really boring and lonely. So I do appreciate you folks. All right, so when you start your project, you're going to get some sort of junk here. You get all this kind of blue junk. So anything that's /*, this is called a comment block. So comments are literally comments. It's not code, it's just notes in the code. And I'm going to get rid of these for now because we'll get to these later when we talk about that in Chapter 2. I used the installer instead of the zip files. You can use the zip files, but then it doesn't give you a shortcut for it. And then I think there's like one config thing you have to change somewhere. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And either one should be fine. And if you have trouble, let me know. So here we go. So we have a couple lines here. And you notice in Netbeans, it's really handy. It gives you these line numbers. So usually we talk about the lines of code or line numbers when we're referencing things. So you'll see a couple things show up in particular coloring. These things are reserved keywords in Java. They mean special things to the Java language. And you get package hello world. So this means my hello world Java file is inside a folder called hello world. So if I were to go take a look, we can go find it here. So that's in my documents, GitHub, Why is this so slow? CIS 1500, winter 2022. Come on. File Explorer. Don't be so slow. Here we go, winter 2022, Monday, Wednesday. That's us. So that's our repository folder, right? A Git repository is nothing more than a folder. We have that hello file. Now we have a folder called Hello World. So this is the way that code gets organized. So a project will put itself inside a folder, which is nice. So the name of the project is the name of the folder. Inside of that now, oh my goodness, double click please, are NB project. Those are Netbeans projects files. Just leave them alone. Netbeans puts a bunch of stuff here. It's fine. We don't care. And then there's a build file, a manifest file, again, more Netbeans stuff. But then you get this SRC folder. This is the important one. This is our source code. So all of our source code goes in the SRC folder inside of source. And it's all automatic. We don't have to do any of this. Inside of that, now you'll see there's the folder called Hello World, which is the package. If the installer doesn't work for you, like if you try and install Netbeans, SP Java, and it says it can't find where Java is installed, you have to go install it and tell it where it is from the shell here, terminal or command prompt or PowerShell or wherever. So this folder here is the package. So it's a good practice to have source code inside of packages. It's a way to organize and name things in Java land. And by default, it's the name of our project, but all lowercase. So inside of that, we'll see our hello world.java. So there's a file, a .java file. This is Java code. So Java code goes in .java files. Code is just text. There's nothing really special about the code here. And there's the syntax it has to follow. It has to match certain things so Java can understand it, but it's written in plain text so people can read it. So the Java code is actually written for people. Now it has to follow the rules that the Java compiler sets so that Java can understand it, but we write code for people to read, not for the machine. Right? I mean, the machine has to be able to read it, but the reason we write it, and it's done in English here, is for the computer, or for people to read it. And we also just let the computer read it too. It's kind of an interesting distinction, because when you write code, you have to know what we're trying to get the computer to do. And we have to know the rules, we have to know the syntax, the different tools and techniques that we have to tell the computer to do things. But we write the code in English here so that we can come back to it later and read it again, or another programmer can come back to it and read it and figure out what we did. Right? That's an important distinction there. So now, all of this stuff, don't worry about it. We'll get into what all this means as we go. We'll learn about classes later. We'll learn about methods later. This is a curly brace here. No, SP Java. If Netbeans is already installed, you're great. You shouldn't need to do anything there. So only if it didn't install for you. So sometimes it would just throw up an error. So these are curly braces. These ones here are square braces. These ones here are parentheses. So there's all sorts of fun syntax rules. We'll get into those next chapter about what goes where. But essentially, we're going to do everything inside this set of curly braces here, inside of where it says main. And it tells us this is a single line comment. / is a single line. That / / is a multi-line comment here. Comments get ignored by the Java compiler. They're purely there for people to leave notes about their code. It says to do, code application logic here. This is where we're going to write our code. So if we want the computer to do something, right here is where we're going to put our code. So there's a command that you can use to tell Java to print something out to the screen. It's system.out.print, and this is ln for print line, and then a set of parentheses. And inside the set of parentheses, we give it quotes, double quotes, not the single apostrophe kind of quotes, double quotes here. Right? So it's system.out.println for line, and that's a capital S for system. Java is very case sensitive. So if you don't have a capital S here and you have a lowercase s here, it's going to give you a big fat red error here. So anytime Java can't understand something, you'll get these syntax errors. That is, it just pulls up a big red spot here and says package system does not exist. It's not the most helpful error here, but it says there is no thing named lowercase s system because it's uppercase S system is the official term for it. So system.out.println, and anything we want to put inside those quotes there, like hello world, goes inside here. If we don't have any red lines, we should be okay to run it. If we were missing like a parenthesis or we're missing a semicolon or these sorts of things, right, this whole thing. Now this one's actually helpful. It says, hey, there's a ending parenthesis expected. I know you probably can't read that error on the stream right now, but when you're coding, and you just hover over it, it'll show you some of those messages. We put that there, or if we're missing a semicolon, it'll error out, and that one will tell us, hey, expected a semicolon. Okay. So the end of every command in Java ends with a semicolon. But like public class hello world, there's no semicolon. Public static void main string args, there's no semicolon. But every time we tell it like, hey, print something or do something, we're going to use a semicolon. So you get used to putting lots of semicolons at the end. So this is it will have it print hello world. So let's give it a try. I'm going to right click and say run, or you can come up to the play button for run, whichever way you want to tell the project to run here. Let's see if it cooperates today. And we see it ran. What we got out here was in the white in hello world, and then this green is after we're done. So everything in between run and build successful is what we told it to spit out, to output. And we get hello world, so we were successful. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up to my GitHub desktop client. So I want to make sure that all of the code I write goes into the GitHub repository. And I made sure I put it into that folder. So anything that goes inside that folder is going to get tracked. So I want winter 2022, and I want the Monday, Wednesday. So going to my repository here, and again, you're going to get one repository per lab, per project, and one for the final project. So you're going to get a bunch of these repositories, which are nothing more than folders. So you can navigate around your different repositories here to pick your current one. It says, hey, the Git Ignore file changed, which is good. Let it change. And just if that one changes, great. And then a bunch of new files. There's a build file, a manifest file, a build implicit file, a gen files, a project, a bunch of other junk. We don't care. Let all of those things go. What we do care about is this hello world.java file. And we can see exactly the same thing that's inside of Netbeans here. We'll see, hey, I see all the contents here. So what we can do, remember, Git is responsible for tracking files inside this folder. Just a big glorified file watcher. So anything you put in, it'll say, hey, if there's new. Anything you change will say, hey, that was changed. Anything you delete will say, hey, it's been deleted. It watches things inside that folder. And then we get to make these commits. A commit is a snapshot. It takes a picture, essentially, of what's inside of that folder at that point in time and saves it. So once you've got that commit, it's really hard to lose it. There are ways to screw it up, but you have to be trying really hard. So essentially, once you've got the commit, we are in good shape. So to make a commit, you have to give it this summary. The summary is required. So I'm going to say hello world. I'm going to say commit. And then all of this stuff is going to go away because now I have that commit. Nothing has changed since the latest commit. Right? As far as my repository knows, nothing else has changed because I took that snapshot. I did my commit. I've got it saved. What the last step we need to do now, because my local repository has it, my computer knows about it, but the cloud, the github.com central repository, the origin, doesn't have it. It's all sorts of names for it. So it says push. So we're going to take all of our changes, we're going to push them out to the cloud. So I'm going to say push. Right? And then if we want to go see, did it make it out there? Right? A little quick sanity check, make sure we're doing the right thing. You can go to this repository menu and say view on GitHub. And view on GitHub will launch your repository page. Again, if you get that 404 not found error, make sure you're logged in because yours will be a private repository. Mine for the class is public here just to make life easy. And I can see now the Hello World folder is there. And you can just browse around these right in the website. I go to that source folder, the Hello World folder, helloworld.java, and I'll see here's our file. Kind of zoom it in a little bit. Yeah, don't worry, we'll have time after. We're probably going to be done in the next half hour or so, so we'll have the rest of the morning to make sure everything gets installed for you. And then we've got all week to work on it. Not saying that means we can put it off, but until next Wednesday was when we'll need everything installed and up and running. So should be okay. We shouldn't run into too much trouble. I mean, it's worked for a long time for lots of people, but happy to hop on screen sharing sessions if you folks get stuck on anything. So we can see our Hello World project. Well, there's nothing to open. You just, when you click the links, it should just, like, this is the file that should just display it here. That's right. I do go a little bit fast, but the lab format style of this is generally I'll show some things for the first half, and you'll try them for the second half, rather than try and go slower the entire time and have people follow along, because then I end up getting up and walking around and trying to help troubleshoot things, and it slows down the general flow. So usually I'll go through things for the first half, and then we'll turn it over to you folks for lab time, and then you'll try it, if that makes sense. So you can always go back and watch the recording sort of things too. Hey, thanks for following along. I love that coffee emote. I think it's even this mug is the one they styled it after. Okay, well, so I don't think you have a repository yet. So none of this is going to really work for you because I don't think you've made a repository. When we do talk about the lab here in just a second, then those steps should work for you. So we can do that in just a minute. So the other thing I want to mention here, and that's important, is when all of this stuff happens, Java is a compiled language. So all of this Java code here goes through the Java compiler. And the Java compiler turns it into something else that is not human readable. So if we take a look at our project here, we notice there's now a new folder called build. Build gets generated when you build or compile your project. So inside of here, if I can double click, there's a classes folder. And inside of there is our Hello World package. The Hello World package now has a helloworld.class file. So the .class file here is the compiled Java bytecode. The Java compiler takes the human-readable .java file and reads it and turns it into a helloworld.class compiled Java bytecode. So the Java bytecode now is compiled, ready to be run by something called the Java virtual machine. So the way that Java works is there is the Java virtual machine or the Java runtime environment that is installed on a given operating system. So there's a Java runtime for Windows, or all the different varieties of Windows. There's a Java runtime for Mac, a Java runtime for Linux. There's a Java runtime on mobile. There's on all sorts of different devices. They used to like to advertise it runs on billions of devices, run Java. So the fine folks at Oracle make sure there's a runtime environment for all sorts of different devices. What happens then when you run Java code, the Java runtime actually reads this Java bytecode and then talks to the operating system. Because operating systems are a little bit different. Each one expects different commands and all sorts of, they have their own sorts of rules and things that you have to do with it. So the operating system agnostic class file here gets interpreted by the Java runtime that knows how to speak to individual operating systems. So your operating system is responsible for executing code and giving you memory to store things and all sorts of that fun stuff. So it gets compiled down into this class file. And you notice our GitHub client has nothing to do with that build folder. It actually ignores all of it because there's a file out here called .git ignore. And the Git Ignore file tells it, hey, just ignore anything that's in that build folder. I'm going to say open with, let's just open with like Notepad. I don't want to do always, but just for now I'm going to use Notepad. Oh, you know what? Let's even forget that. I just want to look at it here in the repository. We can use the web browser. So the Git Ignore file here says, hey, anything that's a star.class file, ignore. Right? We don't want anything to do with any of that. And then, hey, anything that's inside of that Hello World build folder, ignore. That's fine. We don't need any of that stuff because if you can build it or generate it, it doesn't need to be tracked by source control because you can just go download the code and build it yourself. Otherwise, every time you run or compile your project, this whole thing would change. And then if it changes every time, it's really just noise at that point. So source control is meant for tracking source code, not the generated stuff, not the compiled code that goes on behind the scenes there. So let's talk about Lab 1. Let me pull this up here. And if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick little copy paste as well. We did this last night for the Tuesday class. So let me grab, there's assignments, new assignment. Oh, I forgot to turn on their quiz, shoot. That's unfortunate. I gotta do that. This is Lab 1. This is due next week here. I'm going to put this out to, I'm going to say 10 a.m. Ideally, it's done before class starts. If it's not, this one is okay. If it's, we need a little extra time. But we got to get the tools up and running as soon as possible. If you don't get the tools up and running, we're not going to be successful in anything else because you have to use all of these tools here on out. Okay, so we're going to say this is 10 points of labs for Lab 1 inside our labs category. Again, the points only matter within the category, right? Labs are just 10% of your overall score here. Okay, here we go. And copy paste should be pretty good. There we go. All right. All right, so for Lab 1, the first thing here is a GitHub Classroom link. So the GitHub Classroom gives me this really cool workflow that lets me auto-generate repositories for you and do some other fun stuff. So if you click that link, it's going to take you to a page that says, hey, do you want to accept this assignment? Now, my apologies, I've already accepted the assignment here, so it tells me I'm ready to go. You've got a button that says accept the assignment. Click accept the assignment, and it says, okay, we're making your repository. Please wait a few minutes. Ours takes like 5 seconds, so just count to 5 and then refresh the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll say, okay, your assignment repository has been created. Fantastic. And it gives you a link. So this is a private repository that you have access to and I have access to, which is fantastic. Like my course repository here is public. Anyone can go out here and look at the code here, which is fine. I'm not hiding anything. Your classroom assignments, I would like not to be public because that way no one else can go copy off your work and we won't have any issues with me saying, hey, someone copied your stuff. Did you help somebody cheat? Right, that sort of thing. So you should be able to go click this link. They'll say accept the assignment, count to 5, hit refresh, and it says, okay, your assignment repository has been created. Go ahead and click here. This will take you to a web page. So I've got one here. I don't usually do the labs ahead of time, so it would be empty. I'm showing everyone how to do Lab 1 because I want you just essentially to copy the steps here for Lab 1. It'll take you to your page. So CIS 1500 Winter 2022 Lab 1 - your username, whatever your GitHub username is here. Great. Now for the next step, we want to clone the repository. So the repository now is made on the GitHub cloud. It's out there in the cloud. We need to copy it or clone it down to our computer so we have a copy. So you click the big green code button and you say open with GitHub Desktop. If you haven't installed it yet, it'll take you to the page to download it. If you have installed it, it will just open the GitHub Desktop tool. And the very first time, let me just go delete it here. Let me do this. Hang on, this one, I want to get rid of it. Lab 1, I want to remove, also move, yes, remove. Because I wanted you to see that next step here. So let me hit remove. Okay, one more time. So that green code button, open with GitHub Desktop. And it'll say, hey, let's clone a repository. So, hey, here's the website we're going to clone. This is where the repository is on github.com. Right, github.com/occ/class/semester-assignment-username. That'll be the syntax, the format we use. Great. And they'll say, hey, where are we going to put it on your computer, your local path? I like defaults. So the default here is your users, documents, GitHub. If you don't like that, feel free to change it. It really doesn't matter. You just need to know where it goes. I'm just a fan of typing less, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'll say clone. That will go and copy the folder from the GitHub cloud down to my computer. Now we're off to the races. So I've got my Lab 1. here, and it's ready to go. So nothing's been changed yet because there's nothing in it. So once we've got the clone of our repository, right, with that open with GitHub Desktop button, now we're going to come back to Netbeans and we're going to make a new project. We're going to file new project, Java with Ant, Java application, and here we need to tell it where this location is. So this is the important step. We need to go put it inside of our repository folder. So it's going to want to go to some Documents Netbeans Projects folder. Just click Browse and go change it. Go find that repository folder wherever you put it. So again, for me, mine is in my Users Documents folder. So I'm going to go Users, Eric C, Documents, find that folder called GitHub. Inside of GitHub, I'm going to find the Lab 1. So CIS 1500, Winter 2022, Lab 1. I've got a bunch of repositories. You'll have much less. It'll make life a little easier for you here. I want that folder. Now, don't pick any of the folders inside of it, right? You want to start right at that Lab folder. We'll say Open. And then I give it a name. So I'm going to call it Lab 1. I'm going to call it again because it's my second time. You'll just call it Lab 1. Really, the project name doesn't matter much, but try and do something meaningful. Sort of make that project named Lab 1 again, or Lab 1, inside of the Lab 1 repository. This way, the GitHub desktop client can track all the changes. When new stuff shows up, it'll be there. If you don't put it here, Git's not going to find it. And if Git can't find it, you can't get it out to the GitHub Cloud. And if you can't get it out to the GitHub Cloud, I won't be able to see your code and grade it. Okay, so a couple steps. Again, it's going to take a little bit of practice, a little bit of getting used to, and that's okay. It's all new, but we've got time to work on it. Right, and now you'll see you've got more projects, and you can keep all the other ones open. It slows things down a little bit to leave them open, just ever so slightly when you start Netbeans. So generally, I'll go and close them here. We can right-click the project and say close. Right-click and say close. And again, feel free to leave the comments. I just like cleaning it up because I want to be able to see everything nicely without having to scroll. But my font's kind of large, so it shows up better on stream. You know, with a regular font, you should be fine. It shouldn't bother you. It's not going to hurt anything to be there. And then everything is going to go inside of this curly braces here. Open curly brace, closing curly brace. Right? Everything has to match inside of this here. So I'm just going to pause for a second and make sure that all of this Lab 1 stuff, again, showed up in my GitHub client. So I come back to my GitHub client, make sure I've got the right repository picked. It says, hey, there's a bunch of Lab 1 Again stuff. A lab1again.java. Commits are free. Right? There's no cost to making commits, so I recommend you commit early and often. Because as soon as you've committed and pushed to the GitHub Cloud, GitHub makes money selling this service to organizations. Right? They give it away for education, which is awesome, because Microsoft is generally a decent organization. They've got their issues, but generally they're pretty decent and treat education pretty nice. So make commits and push them so that stuff is always available out in the cloud. Now, if you're using the virtual desktops, this is extra important because the virtual desktops will not keep any of your stuff when you get logged off. Right? So commit and push all the time. I mean, you don't have to do it like every couple minutes, but every time you're taking a little break, taking a little pause, go commit and push. So I'm going to say, hey, here's Lab 1 again. Started. Give it the commit summary. Say commit. It'll make that snapshot. Now, everything that's been changed has been snapshotted. That current point in time is saved. I'm going to say push, get it out to the GitHub Cloud, and we're good to keep going. So what I'd like you to do for Lab 1 here, if you go back to the D2L assignment, you're going to click the link to make the repository, clone the repository, make the new Netbeans project in the repository folder. Now we're going to write a Java program that introduces yourself. So please have an output using system.out.println, your name, your pronouns, your major, any previous programming experience you have, the reason you're taking the class, fun facts about yourself, or other things you want me to know about you. Like your reason for taking the class, if it's just required and all you care about is passing because you just need transfer credit, C or better, that's perfectly valid. Right? There's nothing wrong with saying I just need a C or better. That is literally what I did when I took my calculus classes to transfer. Recently, they were prereqs for me for the doctoral program. So I went back in my 30s and took calculus, and it is hard to memorize stuff when you've got a lot of stuff going on and 6 kids and probably didn't spend enough time studying. So all I needed was a C or better. And it took me 2 tries for Calc 2 to get that. But eventually I got through it the second time, and that was it. The goal was not to get an A. If I got one, great, but I was being a little bit more reasonable with those those goals. Okay, so to do those commands, now I'm going to show you a shortcut here because Netbeans is made by developers for developers. Right? So programmers write this tool for other programmers. And programmers, if you're any good, you're lazy. And I mean that in the nicest sense, right? You're efficiently lazy. You don't want to do more things than you need to. So Netbeans is full of shortcuts. So system.out.println is obnoxious to type every time. Oh, and I should mention too, you want to take a minute and turn on autocomplete. It's weird it's not automatically there. So if you go to Tools and Options here, go to the Editor tab, there's a Code Completion tab, or sub-tab or something here. Under Language, you want to go to pick Java, and double check that the first 3 boxes are filled for you, are checked. Usually just the first one is. So you want to make sure the second and third one are checked. That'll let Netbeans do the type ahead for you. So type ahead is saying, hey, I think you're typing this, and then you can use the tab button to complete it. So when I start typing SYS system, here it says, oh, do you want one of these things? Right? Like, oh, which one do you want here? And I want this one here, so I can use my arrow keys to go up and down to pick these ones. And then when you find the one you want, you hit tab, and it auto-completes for you. So that was not too bad. Like SYS tab will find that one here, but you got to arrow up and down. The other shortcut, which is a little easier to use, is you just type SOUT, so for system out, and then you hit tab, and it will autocomplete for you. It'll do the parentheses, it'll do the quote marks, and everything for you here. So it's just SOUT and tab will autocomplete. So it's name, Eric Chernesky. My pronouns are he and him. My major, right, I think that was the next one. Your major. So I am in the Doctor of Engineering in Automotive Systems and Mobility program over at U of M Dearborn. It's really interesting stuff. I'm actually technically on hold right now. My daughter had a spinal injury from her surgery last year, and it's just taken a while to recover, and I don't have the 20 hours a week to put into this. So hopefully we'll get back to that in the fall is the plan. We'll see. That's, fingers crossed. So hoping for the fall. And after your major, programming experience. So I've 15 years of programming. I know C#, I know Java, I know C++, I know VB, I know ASP.NET, I know PHP, I know Python, PowerShell, all sorts of other fun things here. Sure. Great. And then reason for taking the class, I'm taking the class because I'm the instructor. I kind of have to be here. And then other fun facts about me. I like playing Dungeons and Dragons with my kids, or friends and kids, and kids, and I have 6 kids. So it's really the middle 3. My oldest is not a fan, not her style game. And the 7 and 10-year-olds aren't quite ready, don't have the attention span there. No, so you can print as many as you want. The fun thing about println is it will go down to the next line when it's done. You're welcome to string these along. So generally the rule of thumb is your code shouldn't go off the screen. My font is really large, so I kind of break that occasionally. But because this code here is for people, right? The computer could care less. The code's here for people. You want to be able to not have to scroll right and left to see what's happening. These ones get a little bit long, and if you just like put in the middle of a quote, if you just enter it down, you'll see it adds this plus sign, which is kind of funky here. But you can take a string, which is just a bunch of text. You can take a quote and add it to another quote, and it's just going to smack them together here like that. That's called string concatenation. We'll get more into that next week. But yeah, if you want to bring those down a little bit, that's fine. Maybe that looks a little prettier. So I don't know. Maybe it looks prettier, maybe it looks uglier. Java could care less how you do it. And output-wise, it could care less what you output. It has no feelings here. The other fun thing about Java is that as long as you have semicolons, you can put everything on a single line if you're feeling awful. So I can like back all of these up to be a single line here. And this is perfectly legitimate Java code. It's awful looking Java code, but it's legitimate Java code. So I'm going to undo that because it's just feels real bad looking at that. Okay. Let's give it a run. We'll right-click run or come up and hit the play button here. And we get our output. I see all these things. Life looks pretty good. So I'm going to come back to the GitHub client, and I'm going to commit that change. Now, Git Ignore has changed. Fine, let it change. No problem here. And lab 1 again has changed. We'll see, hey, this line 8 is gone. It was an empty line previously. There are new, so left is the old line numbers, right is the new line numbers. There's new lines 8 through 16, which have all of this stuff here. So Git will track things at the line level of what has changed and where. So a bunch of new things here. We'll say, great, this is lab 1. Again, done. I'm going to commit and push. Now I want a sanity check. I want to make sure, did the stuff get out to the cloud? Because I don't want to lose my work, right? And if you can see it out on github.com, I can see it out on github.com, which means I can grade it for you, which is really good. So the next step then, we're going to go to view on GitHub. So, the next thing the assignment asks you to do, which is going to sound gibberish, is when you're done, use the GitHub desktop client to commit your program, push the changes to the github.com cloud. We just did that. Now, submit the URL to the feedback pull request. Well, what's the URL for the feedback pull request? When you get to your repository and you see, hey, you've got your lab 1 again folder, you're going to feel pretty good. It probably made it there. You're welcome to go dive inside, take a look at that Java file itself, lab 1 again, make sure it has it all. Great. Good sanity check. Now, what you need to turn into Desire to Learn is, we've got a couple tabs up here. We're going to go to this pull requests tab. Part of the GitHub Classroom workflow is it automatically generates this for you. These are fantastic. A pull request is a general workflow in software engineering to give a chance to do some sort of peer review process or code review process before your code gets officially put into the latest and greatest version. Essentially, take the software engineering class. Mr. Haiti will tell you all about it. I'll click on feedback. So this is the URL to the feedback pull request. Inside of here now you have more tabs. I like this files changed tab. This is the important one. So we go down to files changed and we can scroll down and see everything that was added in this set here. So generally your stuff is all the way down at the bottom. So lab1 again .java. So just scroll down, make sure it's here. And I can see, yep, I got all my code here. So I've got my print lines. Everything looks okay here. And I can grab this URL now, github.com/occ/class/semester/assignment/username/pull/1/files. All of that, just copy that, come over to D2L, and when you go submit, you just paste that into the text submission box. And that's all you have to do. That's lab 1. So it's just making sure the tools get up and running. It gives you a chance to introduce yourself to me. This remote environment's a little bit funky. It's kind of hard to get to know people, but it gives us a chance. And then hopefully it will be off to the races for next week when we start doing actual Java stuff. So don't forget, you got to read Chapter 1. There's all sorts of other good information in there. I'm going to open up the Chapter 1 quiz here in a minute. We'll have the week to do that. So generally the quizzes will be due the next week by 11:59 p.m. So I have one last chance to remind you here. And they're the question bank quizzes. They're not. So it's your incentive to be reading the book so that you can do well in these quizzes. They should be free points. Like the goal is they're free points, but it also helps you get into the text and make sure you're reading the material here. So and it's a good check for you as well. If you're not doing well in the quizzes, something's not clicking right. Is my guess there. So do 119. Great. It's just 10 questions out of the question bank. You should be in good shape. Oh, I got to add the grade for it. That's right. Let me edit that one more time. And then if you do attend individual tutoring or group tutoring sessions, which I'm getting with Mr. Tim today to get our dates set, you can get 1 extra bonus point on that week's quiz, which is pretty cool. So just 1 extra incentive. If you can't make the times, oh good, I do have the grade item here. If you can't make the time and you can't do individual tutoring, let me know. If we can meet for office hours, maybe I'll count that as that bonus point for the week. So, show questions. Oh, this one should change here. It is a question bank, but I don't want to show the questions right now. So I'm just going to say no, don't show it right now. And then after it's due, I'll have it open up so you can go back and see them here. So I'll add an additional view after the due date. You can go in and see everything. Does that sound okay? This is answers. We'll put after 119. 11:59 p.m. It'll open up. Now you can see the questions and show the answers and that sort of good stuff. Okay, so you'll take it. All you'll see is the auto grade score after the due date. Then you can go in and see all the answers and things. Just to encourage you folks to not work together on these things. These are individual efforts here for these quizzes. Okay. So we've got the Chapter 1 quiz coming up. We've got Lab 1. Ideally before class. Again, I can be flexible with that one. If you couldn't get all the tools installed, we'll have one last chance to talk about it. But if it's not working throughout the week, let me know. Try and get an appointment with me for my office hours. I can help get all those tools installed. And we can go from there, okay? Yeah, so Lab 1's due, and then the syllabus quiz. Oh, yeah, don't forget about your syllabus quiz as well. And again, more easy free points for that one. And we should be in pretty good shape. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? We're about coming up for a break, but that's essentially all we need to do for Chapter 1. So we'll have the rest of the time to finish installing those tools. If you've got any trouble, reach out, email, call, text, send me a message on Discord. You can do some screen sharing. Yeah, so the weekly quizzes that we have over the content, if you go to the group tutoring sessions or an individual tutoring session or meet with me during my office hours for individual tutoring, I'll give you one extra bonus point towards that quizz's score. Yeah, so when we talked about the group tutoring, we generally had real poor attendance the first week of class because there was like really nothing to do. So I think the plan was to start them the second week of class when you actually have an assignment to work on. So I don't think Mr. Tim had planned to do any sessions this week, but I'm happy to get you installed. Yeah, if you're on the virtual desktop, the only thing you need on the virtual desktops is to download the GitHub client, and it'll even prompt you. If you click that Classroom link when you say open in code, it'll prompt you to install that. The Netbeans is already installed, and the JDK is already installed on the virtual desktop for OCC. For Discord, if you do ! Discord here in chat, it'll give you the link, or you can go out to the syllabus. I got the Discord link there as well. Discord should link it for you. You can hang out in the Discord server. The channel for our class just generally is CIS 1500. If you have any class-related questions there, feel free to post it there. But yeah, I got the Discord link here as well. Actually, I made a bit.ly link. I wonder if I should use that instead, but it's fine. Just to make it look a little prettier. Yes, Pichama, you said you already had Netbeans installed, right? So hopefully there's not much else we need to get installed. Yeah, so using that Horizon VMware client will get you onto the college virtual machines. Make sure you pick the CIS one. There's an all students, and then there's a CIS. So the CIS one is for CIS students to use our CIS software. You still have access to the all students one, just for the generic one that you might need. And we can go from there. Right, I think someone was emailing me, so why don't I end the stream here, and if you've got individual questions, I'll queue you folks up, and I can hop around and do some screen sharing. We can hop on Zoom or Discord to do that screen sharing to get you all up and running, okay? So take a couple minutes, go get some more coffee. I'm going to refill my cup, and then I'll pop back on, and I'll be around on Discord to help people out, okay? Sound like a plan? Yeah, I think there's another email. That's good. Good. Awesome. Yeah, you got to have that coffee. All right. And then don't forget, I post all the recordings out here in the lecture archive. Nope, that's no problem at all. There's nothing to interfere with on the virtual desktop. It actually, because it wipes it fresh every time. So by committing and pushing your stuff to GitHub, we'll make sure it gets saved. And then you can just, when you do that clone step and it makes a copy back on your computer, you'll get the latest and greatest version that's out in the cloud, which is whatever you saved last, your last commit that you pushed. So it works out really nice to use those repositories for that. Yep. Awesome. So I'll play you guys out here, and we'll go from there. I'll be around to help people individually. Let me know.